The mistake. In the vast expanse of the Orion Arm, humanity had carved out its modest corner of the galaxy, not through conquest or intimidation, but through careful diplomacy and technological trade. The stellar Commonwealth of Earth had spent decades cultivating an image of peaceful explorers and innovative merchants. Other species viewed humans as curiosities, survivors from a high-gravity Deathworld who had somehow developed spacefaring technology without destroying themselves. The Vraxian Empire watched humanity's expansion with growing unease. Their crystalline bodies housed minds that had evolved over millions of years to see patterns, to calculate probabilities, to predict threats before they emerged. And humanity's pattern troubled them deeply. Every human settlement, every research station, every mining operation, while appearing peaceful on the surface, was positioned with an efficiency that suggested deeper strategic value. They're playing a long game. Supreme strategist Kivrix declared to the Empire's High Council, his crystalline form refracting light in agitated patterns. Look at their expansion vector. Each position they take strengthens the others. They claim to be merchants and researchers, but they're building a network that could become a fortress. The council chambers, carved from a single massive crystal deep within the Vraxian homeworld, amplified his words. Other council members shifted, their bodies creating dancing lights as they processed his assessment. "What evidence do you have of hostile intent?" asked Elder Extol, her ancient form barely translucent after millennia of growth. "The humans have honored every treaty. Their technology trade has benefited many worlds." Kivrix projected a holographic map of human space. "It's what they're not doing that concerns me. Their ships use primitive fusion drives when we know they understand more advanced principles. Their weapons are basic plasma cannons when their understanding of particle physics suggests they could build much more. They're hiding their true capabilities." The council deliberated for days, their crystalline forms growing new facets as they absorbed and processed information. Finally, they reached a conclusion. Humanity's expansion must be checked before it became a true threat. A message needed to be sent. They chose the Helios Research Station as their target. Located in a system far from Earth, but close to Vraxian space, it represented humanity's scientific advancement. Officially, it studied stellar phenomena. Kivrix's intelligence suggested it also conducted weapons research, making it a legitimate military target. The attack was meant to be precise, a surgical strike to destroy the station and its supposed weapons lab, followed by a formal warning to the stellar Commonwealth about expanding too close to Vraxian space. 3 warships, their crystalline hulls refracting starlight into weapon-grade energy beams, dropped out of hyperspace near the station. They expected minimal resistance from a research station. They expected frightened scientists and civilian contractors. They expected a quick victory that would demonstrate Vraxian power while maintaining plausible deniability about starting an actual war. They were wrong. The first sign that something was amiss came when their initial scans showed the station's hull was made of materials their sensors couldn't penetrate. The second came when their warning broadcast was met with silence. No panic, no pleading, no desperate calls for help. The third sign came when the station's outer layer simply disappeared, revealing weapon ports that shouldn't have been possible to hide. The fourth sign was their lead warship vanishing in a flash of light that defied their understanding of physics. The remaining Vraxian ships tried to retreat. They managed to transmit a single message before they too were erased from existence. They were ready. They were waiting for someone to make this mistake. The message that arrived at the Vraxian High Council hours later was text only, transmitted simultaneously to every communication device in their capital. "You believed we were hiding weapons. The truth is worse. We were hiding our restraint. Your attack on Helios Station killed 47 human scientists and researchers. We have already evacuated our civilian populations from all systems bordering your space. You have 6 hours to do the same. After that, we will demonstrate exactly why Earth is classified as a death world." Kivrix, watching the message repeat across every screen, finally understood his error. He had worried humanity was hiding its weapons. Instead, they had been hiding the fact that their entire civilization was a weapon, carefully contained until someone was foolish enough to break the container. The Vraxian Empire had governed space through fear for 10,000 years. As their civilian ships began emergency evacuation procedures, as their military scrambled to defensive positions, as their leaders rushed to bunkers deep within their crystalline worlds, they learned what it meant to truly be afraid. They had 6 hours until humanity stopped pretending to be civilized. 6 hours until the Deathworlders showed them why evolution on Earth had produced not just survivors, but apex predators. The mistake had been made. The galaxy was about to change. Awakening. The 6-hour warning wasn't a countdown to an attack. It was a countdown to a revelation. As the Vraxian Empire scrambled to evacuate their border worlds, humanity's transformation had already begun. On Earth, in underground facilities that had existed for centuries, ancient machinery hummed to life. In orbital installations hidden beneath holograms of maintenance stations, quantum computers began calculating probabilities that had been prepared for decades. Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the central command chamber of Luna Base, watching holographic displays track the evacuation of Vraxian civilian populations. She had spent 30 years preparing for this moment, hoping it would never come. The chamber, carved deep beneath the lunar surface, represented humanity's true military command, not the ceremonial fleet headquarters on Mars that other species were allowed to visit. Civilian evacuation of the border systems is at 89% completion, reported Captain Marcus Rodriguez. The Vraxians are actually doing it. They're running. Chen nodded, her expression grim. They think they're avoiding a military strike. They don't understand what's actually happening. She turned to face the assembled command staff. Initiate Protocol Omega. It's time to stop pretending. Across human space, hidden installations began shedding their camouflage. Research stations revealed themselves to be fortress worlds. Mining operations transformed into fleet anchorages. The primitive fusion drives on human ships simply vanished, replaced by propulsion systems that bent space itself. But the greatest change wasn't in the technology, it was in the people. For generations, humanity had maintained a careful facade. The galaxy saw them as survivors from a high-gravity world, tough and resourceful, but fundamentally limited by their biological nature. The truth was far more profound. Earth hadn't just made humans strong. It had made them adaptable in ways other species couldn't comprehend. Every human who ventured into space had undergone subtle genetic modifications, their potential locked away until needed. Now those locks were being removed. Across human space, people began to change. Dr. Elena Rossi, one of the scientists who survived the Helios station attack, felt it happening as she stood in a secure facility on Mars. Her mind expanded, neural pathways that had been carefully suppressed since birth activating for the first time. Around her, other survivors underwent the same transformation. They had been chosen for the station precisely because they carried these modifications, these hidden capabilities. The physical changes are proceeding as designed, she reported, her voice steady despite the sensation of her own DNA rewriting itself. Cognitive enhancement is at 300% and climbing. The quantum entanglement nodes in our cerebral cortexes are coming online. The Vraxians had believed they were dealing with simple biological entities. They didn't understand that every human in space was a carefully crafted instrument, designed not just to survive but to transcend when necessary. In the Helios system, where the attack had occurred, the first demonstration of humanity's true nature was about to begin. The system's star flickered, just for a moment, as machines hidden in subspace pockets emerged. They weren't weapons in the conventional sense. They were reality anchors, devices that could locally alter the fundamental constants of physics. Admiral Chen watched the deployment from Luna Base. Initiate the quantum lock on the Helios system. Let's show them why we've been so careful all these years. The machines activated. In an instant, the laws of physics in the Helios system shifted subtly. The change was barely noticeable to human sensors, calibrated to anticipate it. To Vraxian systems, designed to work with standard universal constants, it was devastating. The crystalline structure of Vraxian technology relied on precise physical laws to function. As those laws shifted, their equipment began to fail. Quantum communications went dark. Energy weapons discharged randomly. Navigation systems reported impossible readings. But this was just the beginning. The true horror for the Vraxians wasn't the technology they were facing. It was the realization that humans had built all of this, had prepared these capabilities, had seeded these systems throughout space, all while maintaining a perfect facade of primitive technological development. "Send the second message," Chen ordered. Across Vraxian space, another text transmission appeared. "What you saw before was humanity restrained. What you see now is humanity awakened. But you still haven't seen humanity unleashed. You have attacked beings who spent generations hiding their true nature to avoid frightening you. Now you will understand why we hid." In the Vraxian High Council chamber, Supreme Strategist Kivrix watched his worst fears multiply. The humans hadn't been hiding weapons. They had hidden their entire civilization's true nature. Every human ship, every station, every colony had been a dormant seed of something far more advanced, far more dangerous than anything the Vraxians had imagined. And now those seeds were blooming. As the 6-hour warning expired, humanity stopped pretending to be merely another spacefaring species. They had spent generations carefully maintaining the illusion of being simple Deathworlders who had achieved spaceflight. Now, as their transformed forces assembled at the edge of Vraxian space, as their reality-altering machines spread through the border systems, as their enhanced populations awakened to their full potential, the galaxy was about to learn why Earth had produced not just survivors, but gods in waiting. The first strike. The Vraxian Empire had prepared for war. They had fortified their core systems, assembled their fleets, and activated defensive protocols that had protected their civilization for millennia. Their crystalline warships formed perfect geometric patterns in space, each vessel amplifying the other's capabilities through precisely aligned energy matrices. They had prepared for war, but war was not what came. The first sign that something was wrong came from their quantum observation posts in the Nexus sector. The posts were designed to detect any form of faster-than-light travel, any distortion in spacetime, any technological approach to Vraxian space. They detected nothing. Instead, they began reporting impossible readings from normal space itself. "The background radiation of space is changing," reported senior observer Solara, her crystalline form vibrating with confusion. "It's as if reality itself is being rewritten." In the space between stars, in the void that the Vraxians had thought they understood, something was shifting. The quantum foam of spacetime began behaving differently. Probability curves that had been stable for billions of years suddenly developed new patterns. The humans weren't approaching with ships. They were changing the nature of space itself. Dr. Elena Rossi, her transformation now complete, stood in the control center of what had once been Helios Research Station. Her enhanced mind processed quantum calculations that would have taken ancient supercomputers years to solve. Around her, other transformed humans worked in perfect synchronization, their quantum-entangled minds linking into a collective intelligence that transcended individual consciousness. "The probability matrix is aligned," she announced, her voice carrying harmonics that hadn't existed in human speech before, beginning the phase shift. In normal space, nothing appeared to happen. But at the quantum level, at the scale where reality itself was written, everything changed. The laws of physics that the Vraxians had evolved to exploit, the fundamental forces their technology relied upon, began to shift like sand beneath their feet. Admiral Chen watched from Luna Base as the operation unfolded. "Initiate the Thomson Protocol," she ordered. "Let's show them what happens when humanity stops playing by their rules." Across Vraxian space, their crystalline technology began to fail. Not dramatically, not explosively, but subtly and inevitably. The precise atomic alignments that allowed their crystals to channel energy became slightly less precise. The quantum states they used for computation became slightly less stable. The very foundation of their technological civilization began to erode. But this was not destruction. This was education. Send the third message, Chen commanded. Throughout Vraxian space, displays flickered with new text. Your crystal technology depends on universal constants that we have spent generations learning to alter. We could have changed these constants enough to shatter every crystal in your empire. Instead, we are showing you what we can do. This is not an attack. This is a demonstration of mercy. In the High Council chamber, Supreme Strategist Hevrix watched in horror as the perfect crystalline patterns of their civilization developed microscopic flaws, not enough to cause catastrophic failure, but enough to demonstrate that everything they had built, everything they had relied upon, existed only because humans had allowed it to exist. How? He demanded of his scientific advisors. How can they change the fundamental laws of physics? The answer came not from his advisors, but from a new message appearing in their systems. We evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every day. We survived not by accepting the rules of nature, but by learning to change them. What you call physics, we call suggestions. What you call impossible, we call the next step. We spent generations pretending to be less than we are because we knew this truth would terrify you. The message continued. You attacked a research station studying stellar phenomena. Did you never wonder why we were so interested in stars? Every star is a natural fusion reactor, a place where physics operates at its most extreme. We weren't studying them to understand their power. We were studying them to understand how to change the rules that govern that power. Across Vraxian space, their military commanders watched helplessly as their perfectly aligned battle fleets began to lose coherence. The crystalline matrices that allowed their ships to share power and information developed tiny imperfections. Their weapon systems, based on channeling and amplifying stellar energy through crystal arrays, became unreliable. Yet no human ships appeared. No weapons were fired. No direct attack was launched. Instead, space itself had become humanity's weapon, and they wielded it with a precision that demonstrated not just power, but control. In the transformed Helios station, Dr. Rossi and her fellow scientists continued their work, their enhanced minds reaching out through quantum fields to adjust reality itself. They weren't destroying the Vraxian Empire. They were teaching it the true meaning of technological superiority. Phase shift is stable, Rossi reported. The demonstration is complete. Admiral Chen nodded. Send the final message of this phase. The words appeared across every Vraxian system. We have demonstrated our control over the physical laws your civilization depends upon. We have shown you that your existence continues because we choose to be merciful. Now, you must choose. Accept that humanity is not what you thought we were and live in peace with this knowledge, or continue your aggression and learn why Earth's true classification wasn't Deathworld, but Reality Forge. The Vraxian Empire had thought they were dealing with clever primitives who needed to be contained. Instead, they had awakened beings who had spent generations pretending to be less than they were, beings who had learned to rewrite the rules of reality itself. The revelation. News spread through the galaxy like quantum fire. The Galactic Council, a loose confederation of spacefaring species that had maintained peace for millennia, convened an emergency session. Representatives from 100 civilizations gathered in the great amphitheater on neutral Centauri Prime, their forms ranging from energy beings to silicon intelligences to organic entities of all descriptions. But for the first time in the Council's history, all eyes were on the empty human seat. First speaker Zinthar, a being of pure energy contained within an ancient environmental suit, addressed the assembly. We have all seen the data from Vraxian space. We have all witnessed what the humans revealed themselves to be. The question before us is simple. What do we do with this knowledge? The Vraxian representative, their crystalline form noticeably dulled, spoke next. They have weapons that can alter reality itself. They have hidden their true nature for generations. They are not what we thought they were. They are not who we thought they were. In the ensuing silence, recordings from Vraxian space played across the chamber's holographic displays. They showed the impossible, space itself being rewritten, fundamental constants shifting like quicksand, the very fabric of reality bending to human will. Meanwhile, in human space, Admiral Chen was receiving reports from across the galaxy. The quantum entanglement network, hidden for so long, was now operating at full capacity. Every human colony, every station, every ship was connected instantaneously across light years. "The other species are reacting exactly as we predicted," reported her intelligence chief. "Fear, awe, disbelief, and the beginning of understanding." Chen nodded. "And the Vraxians? Their military command is in chaos. Their civilian population is demanding answers. Their scientists—" He paused, allowing himself a small smile. "Their scientists are beginning to theorize about what else we might be capable of." In the transformed Helios station, Dr. Rossi and her team were monitoring the quantum fluctuations across space. The demonstration had been precisely calculated, enough to show their capabilities, but not enough to cause permanent damage to any inhabited systems. "We're detecting attempts to analyze our technology," she reported to Lunabase. "Several species are trying to understand how we manipulate quantum fields. Should we proceed with the next phase?" Admiral Chen considered this. The plan had always been to reveal humanity's capabilities in stages, allowing other species time to adjust to each revelation. But the Vraxian attack had accelerated their timeline. "Begin the educational protocol," she ordered. Across the galaxy, in every major scientific institution of every spacefaring species, quantum computers began receiving data packets. The humans were sharing knowledge, not everything, but enough to demonstrate the depth of their understanding. In the Galactic Council chamber, the reaction was immediate. Scientists among the representatives began analyzing the data, their shock evident as they realized what they were seeing. "This is..." The Arcturian chief scientist's tentacles writhed in agitation. "This is beyond anything we imagined possible. The humans aren't just manipulating reality, they're teaching us how they do it." First speaker Zinfar's energy form flickered. Why would they share such knowledge? The answer came in a new transmission, broadcast simultaneously to every member of the council. "Because knowledge was never meant to be hoarded. We hid our capabilities not out of selfishness, but out of concern for how they would be received. Now that circumstances have forced our revelation, we choose to share rather than dominate." In Vraxian space, Supreme Strategist Huvrix received the same data packets as everyone else. But for him, they came with an additional message. "You attacked us because you feared what you thought we might become. Now you see what we have been all along. The knowledge we're sharing is proof of our intentions. We could have kept these secrets. Instead, we offer understanding." The implications rippled through galactic society. Humanity hadn't just developed reality-altering technology. They had developed it generations ago and chosen not to use it. They hadn't just hidden their capabilities. They had hidden their entire philosophical approach to existence. In the council chamber, a new understanding began to dawn. The humans hadn't been pretending to be less advanced out of fear or weakness. They had done it out of consideration for how their knowledge would affect other species. They had waited, watched, and prepared not for war, but for the moment when the galaxy was ready for what they had to share. The Quantum Mechanics Guild of the Sirius sector was the first to announce their findings. The human understanding of reality manipulation isn't just technological. It's a fundamental reimagining of how the universe works. They haven't just mastered the laws of physics. They've learned to see them as guidelines rather than rules. Throughout human space, transformed individuals like Dr. Rossi continued their work, not just maintaining the reality alterations they had demonstrated, but preparing for the next phase, teaching other species how to understand what humanity had discovered. Admiral Chen watched the galactic reaction unfold exactly as their social models had predicted. Fear was giving way to curiosity. Hostility was transforming into cautious hope. The galaxy was beginning to understand that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology or their ability to alter reality. It was their choice to share rather than dominate. The New Dawn. 1 year after humanity's revelation, the galaxy had changed in ways no species had predicted. The great amphitheater of the Galactic Council was no longer just a place of political debate. It had become humanity's first classroom for teaching the fundamentals of reality manipulation. Dr. Elena Rossi stood before representatives from 50 different species, her transformed mind connecting with the quantum field that now permeated the chamber. Behind her, a holographic display showed the structure of space-time itself, revealing patterns that most species had never imagined existed. The universe, she explained, is not a fixed set of rules. It is a conversation between consciousness and reality. Humanity learned this through necessity. Our death world forced us to question everything we thought we knew about existence itself. In orbit above, the former Vraxian warships now served a new purpose. Their crystalline structures, once used to channel weapon energy, had been repurposed into quantum resonance chambers. Supreme Strategist Kivrix, now serving as the lead liaison between the Vraxian Empire and humanity, watched as his species' greatest weapons became tools of understanding. "We were wrong about everything," he admitted to Admiral Chen during one of their regular meetings. "We thought you were hiding weapons. Instead, you were hiding enlightenment." Chen nodded, watching the quantum displays that showed the progress of what they now called the Great Teaching. "We had to be sure the galaxy was ready. Your attack on Helios Station forced our hand, but perhaps it was time anyway." Across the galaxy, human research stations had transformed into learning centers. The technology they had kept hidden for generations was being shared systematically, carefully, with safeguards and understanding built into every lesson. But the greatest change wasn't in the technology. It was in the way species began to view existence itself. The Arcturian hive minds were the first to fully grasp the implications. Their collective consciousness proved particularly adept at understanding the quantum nature of reality. "We see now," their representative announced to the council. "The humans didn't evolve to survive their death world. They evolved to transcend it." In the transformed Helios Station, now the center of humanity's educational initiative, Dr. Rossi worked with scientists from 100 worlds. The station where 47 humans had died had become a beacon of hope and understanding. The quantum field responds to consciousness, she taught her diverse group of students. But consciousness itself can be expanded, enhanced, transformed. This is what humanity learned on Earth, not just how to survive, but how to change the very nature of what survival means. The Vraxian Empire, once humanity's greatest threat, had become their most dedicated students. Their crystalline nature, which they had always seen as their greatest strength, proved to be perfectly suited for quantum manipulation once they understood the true principles behind it. Admiral Chen received regular reports from across human space about the progress of different species. Some took to reality manipulation naturally, while others struggled with the basic concepts. But all of them were changing, growing, evolving in their understanding. "We're detecting the first independent quantum manipulations from non-human species," her science officer reported. "The Arcturians have successfully altered local space-time constants in their home system. The Vraxians have begun adapting their crystalline technology to work with the new principles." But it wasn't just about teaching technology. Humanity had learned something far more important on their death world, something they now shared with the galaxy. The true lesson of Earth, Dr. Rossi explained to her students, wasn't about survival. It was about transcendence. When faced with a world that tried to kill us every day, we didn't just adapt to survive it. We learned to change the rules of existence itself. In the Galactic Council, first speaker Zinthar made a historic announcement. "We have voted unanimously to reclassify Earth. It is no longer designated as a death world. It is now classified as the first known reality forge, a place where the fundamental nature of existence was first understood and altered. The humans who had hidden their true nature for so long could finally be themselves. Their transformed minds, their ability to alter reality, their deep understanding of the quantum nature of existence, all of it could now be shared openly. Supreme Strategist Kavrix, standing in the rebuilt command chamber of his homeworld, watched the quantum field readings that showed species across the galaxy beginning to grasp the true nature of reality. "We attacked them because we feared they would become too powerful," he mused. "Instead, they showed us that true power lies not in domination, but in understanding." Admiral Chen, overseeing the final phase of humanity's emergence, reflected on how far they had come. "We spent generations hiding what we could do," she told her staff. "Now we spend our time teaching others to do the same. This was always the goal, not to rule the galaxy, but to help it evolve." As the quantum field rippled with the attempts of new species learning to manipulate reality, as ancient civilizations began to transcend their own limitations, as the galaxy itself seemed to wake up to new possibilities, humanity's true victory became clear. They hadn't just survived their death world. They hadn't just learned to alter reality. They had prepared themselves, hidden themselves, waited patiently, all so they could do what Earth had taught them was truly important: help others transcend their own limitations. The galaxy had trembled when they revealed their power. But in the end, it wasn't fear that changed everything. It was understanding.